Let me come to you too first, Mr. Lai. Your pen name is RWX. It comes from a character in the Chinese martial arts book, and you also translated many fantasy novels. How would you best describe Chinese fantasy novels? Do they differ significantly from Western fantasy?
Right. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Shane. I really appreciate it. I think one of the reasons why these novels right now have attracted such an audience is because they have a lot of similarities to Western fantasy novels, but they're been wrapped in a sort of a Chinese skin, so to speak. It's been reskinned in a way that makes it very fresh and appealing, yet not too foreign. Like when we first translated almost 10 years ago the traditional wuxia novels by Jin Yong and Gu Long, these are novels that I loved, but then we didn't get a lot of views. But these days we're getting much more, and I think that's because Chinese fantasy web novels, they really resonate a lot more with the popular culture than some of the more Chinese stuff that we've worked on in the past.
Ms. Zhang, now the Twilight has a huge following in China because your version is the only version so far that a huge number of Chinese people can get access to at this moment. What prompted you to take up this book when you were 26-year-old?
Okay, thank you for having me here. The Twilight Saga, the target audience is the teenagers, so it is quite easy for them to take in the Western trendy vampire culture. And I was 26 when I was translating the book. I was much younger at that time, and just one day my classmate came to me and asked me whether I'm interested in translating a novel. Then I said yes, and then it became a very popular one. I never expected that actually at the very beginning, and I was attracted to that story, to the love story, and I think it is also appeal to the teenagers in our country.
I mean, to both of you, have you imagined the kind of feedback that you would have received? For instance, Mr. Lai, it is reported that your website has 3.5 million views a day. I heard some people even have donated money to encourage you to update your work more quickly, and the fact that you are on our show today make you miss one of your uploads. Did you ever expect that Chinese fantasy novels would prove so popular abroad?
Well, actually, first of all, the 3.5 is a bit of an old number. We're up to around 5.2 to 5.5 million now.
Okay.
So we've still been growing. No, I mean, it's been absolutely shocking to, I think, to all of us. I mean, again, when we first started translating a lot of traditional novels 10 years ago, if we had like maybe 50 to 100 viewers for each chapter we put up, we would be ecstatic. We would be so happy. So for us to now have hundreds of thousands of people coming every single day and doing millions of page views, it still boggles my mind, and I'm blessed to have a chance to get involved in this.
Ms. Zhang, did you also expect the kind of feedback from your translation? What are people telling you now that they know that you are the one who put these English words into Chinese for them?
I think one of the most impressive feedback is actually from my student. I taught a course of translation last year, and one of my students wrote to me saying that she read Twilight Saga while she was a high school student, and she liked it very much. And she told me that she wanted to translate this kind of novel in the future. That's why she chose translation as her major. I think what you do can actually inspire people around you to do something similar and something meaningful. I think that's one of the most important reward for a translator.
Mr. Lai, how are the Chinese web novels received by foreign readers compared with the classical Chinese novels of the older times, for instance, Journey to the West or all of these books that are known to be coming from China?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the numbers don't lie. Whether we're talking about the oldest stuff, such as the Journey to the West or Three Kingdoms, or even the somewhat newer stuff like stuff by Jin Yong, the numbers we're seeing right now on Wuxia World, it just blows everything away. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of that is because a lot of these current fantasy novels, they draw heavily upon Western games, Western movies. For example, one of our most popular novels for a time, Tales of Demons and Gods, Yao Shen Ji, it had concepts such as capturing monsters and then mixing them together and making them level up. I mean, this is stuff that's really, it's from stuff like Pokemon, it's from stuff like World of Warcraft. So it's a lot of stuff that, it's already a shared culture, a shared gamer culture, a shared anime culture. And what we're doing is, what the Chinese market has done is they've made it their own. They've taken this really good stuff and they've wrapped it in, Chinese culture, like my translation, Desolate Era, has Chinese figures like Su Puti, Sun Wukong, Hou Yi. And, so it takes a really old stuff, but wraps it in a fresh way, but also in a way which is really resonating with the readers in the West, because it comes from a lot of the same source material, a lot of the same games, a lot of the same anime.
But that part of it obviously made your work easy, but what about the difficult part? What is the most difficult thing you find in your work?
The most difficult part, obviously, is the actual translation. The toughest part, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but when you're doing fantasy translation, you're working with things that don't exist. So a lot of times when you're going from Chinese to English, you really have to make up brand new English words that didn't exist in the past. So
Like
it's
what?
really a testing. They have all sorts of these random fantasy
Golems,
creatures,
for instance?
and no, that stuff's easy. But like, for example, you will have these random dragons like with a 3 or 4 part names, and then you're trying to make it sound pithy, make it sound cool in English.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. That's the hardest part. Translating is easy. Translating and making it sound cool, making it sound good, that's really the hard part.
Ms. Zhang,
Yes,
do you
yes.
find a similar problem?
Yes, I totally agree with him, right? When I translate Twilight, I think the most difficult part is to translate those magic words, like the magic used by the vampires. So how to make them also sound also magic in Chinese, I think that is a really tough work.
Okay, finally, Sunday will be World Book Day. So if you were to recommend one book to our audience, which one would you recommend? Your own works.
Yes. Twilight.
Twilight? Yeah, Mr. Lai.
Well, I mean, on my side, if we're talking web novels, my translation of Coiling Dragon is not recommended